relationship. Why father and son relationship? Why not father and daughter relationship? Why not relationships in general? Why not a relationship with God? We speak about a father and son relationship because we believe that if we get this right, we will be able to build a healthy nation. If we have healthy relationships between fathers and sons, we will be able to have a healthy society. We will be able to be a healthy people. We will be able to be healthy because on the shoulders of the boy child rests so much. It is he that needs to take the family's name forward. It is he that is the heir. It is he that so much rests upon. Becoming a father is very easy, but being a good father is the hardest thing in the world. It takes effort, it takes courage, it takes being intentional to become a good father, especially to a boy child. And so we have heard our president declare GBVF, that would be gender-based violence and femicide, a pandemic. We saw the task team throw billions of rands towards the fight against GBVF. We have heard people talk about toxic masculinity. We have heard experts talk about hurt people hurting people. We have heard initiatives for the girl child, take a girl child to work. We have heard so many initiatives about gender equality. We have heard so much about this. However, very seldomly do we hear talks about the boy child, the one who it all rests on, the one who is the heir, as I said, the one to the family's name, the one who is an heir to the family's name, an heir to the family's wealth, if there's any, an heir to the family's status, an heir to the family's fame, if there is any fame. And so it becomes very important that we invest time and effort into this relationship between a father and a son. I want to share with you some research that Dr. Brahmand Nayak shared in 2022, in June 2022. He had this to say about a father and son relationship. He says that experts reveal that a bond between a father and a son determines a lot about the son's nature and character. He says that studies also show that a boy who did not have a good relationship with his father grows up into a socially insecure and deeply unhappy man. He suggests that a father's presence, as well as his absence, leaves a deep imprint in a young boy's mind. An imprint so deep that it is difficult for a boy to overcome that. A couple of months ago, my wife spoke in church about the spirit of rejection. And as she spoke about the spirit of rejection, these words came to me. And the words that came to me were that the spirit of rejection was birthed out by the action or the act of rejection. And so someone, something, or a situation somewhere had to reject you in order for the spirit of rejection to follow you. But without the action of rejection, the spirit of rejection has no hold over you. And so it becomes very important that as fathers, we learn how to minimize the rejection that our children suffer at our hands. We learn how to be more present. We learn how to be more visible. We learn how to be more present so that our children can have us there. You see, a boy relies on their father for guidance and wisdom. A boy models his world according to his father's perception, and consciously or unconsciously, he grows up to be like the father. My question here this evening is, does biology have to play a role? Do I have to be your biological father to be a father to you? In a perfect world, yes. In a world where fathers don't abandon their sons or their daughters or their children, yes. In a world where we don't have so much ills, yes, biology plays a role. In today's world, I venture to say no. In today's world, we have more blended families than we have your typical nuclear families. In today's world, we have more fathers raising sons that were not really born to their loinses. We have fathers raising daughters that were not born to their loinses. And we have those fathers being more present than the ones that actually gave birth to the son. I grew up with male figures in my life. 4 to be specific. 5 if you add my father, Mr. Mentor and Kimberly, and many other male figures in my life, that somehow I was able to look up to and model my behaviors around them. And so how do we build a strong relationship between father and son? There are a couple of steps that are suggested. And one of these is that you need to be there for him. You need to be there for each other as father and son. One of the biggest mistakes that most fathers do is being distant from their families, whether it is because of their job or the nagging nature of kids. Fathers do tend to avoid their kids, seeking a few moments of mental peace. This creates a gap between the father and the child, which becomes impossible to fill over time. So even if you had the busiest day of your life, sit and listen to your child for a few minutes. You can play with them, give them attention, practice a hobby, or help them with their homework. Just be there for them. Just let them know that you are present. Just let them know that they can count on you. Just let them know that they can rely on you. It is important for you to be there for your son in order for him to be healthy, in order for a relationship to be healthy. And I venture to say once again, if we get this relationship right between fathers and sons, we may not be able to kill GBVF completely because it is so rife in our country, but we may be able to minimize it drastically to a point that we don't have to talk about it as much as we do. And so the second thing that we need to do is we need to be our son's first teacher. We need to be our son's first teacher. Now, unfortunately, in the life or the world that we live in today, where you have blended families, you met your son at the age of 10, for example, you met your son at the age of 5, you met your son at the age of 18, you met your son at whatever age. Sometimes you met them at the most difficult age where they are at the peak of their rebellion and it is just difficult for you to get through to them. But in all of those things, you need to persevere, you need to continue, you need to be consistently intentional with how you build that relationship with that boy. Because at the end of the day, what you want is a healthy man. You want a healthy husband. You want a healthy father. You want a healthy nation builder. You want someone that will be able to build this nation. And so you need to be his first teacher. A young boy considers his father his hero. Whatever you do will have an impact on him. And young kids are highly impressionable. What does it mean to be highly impressionable? They are impressed or enticed by anything that seems like the true gospel at that time. So if a father is not present to teach their child, and another male figure displays something that seems like the gospel to them, that child will take that gospel and run with it like his life depends on it. I know of a man that said to me that this man was our hero. And I hope to have my brother here in studio one day as he shares his testimony with his journey with drugs. And he's from Attridgeville. He speaks about a renowned gangster who used to attend concerts with his Range Rovers with trailers carrying his Lamborghini and his Ferrari and so on and forth. And he says, he was our hero. We looked up to him. Now imagine looking up to something that is wrong. Imagine looking up to a con artist. Imagine looking up to a gangster. Imagine looking up to a murderer, because there is no father that guides you and teaches you what is right. And so because boys are so highly impressionable, they will take that which seems like the true gospel and they will run with it. I know my father in the spirit, Apostle Sammy Jonas, is probably sitting there listening and he's asking himself, where is the scriptural reference for this? I'm coming with that. I'm on my way. So we need to make sure to teach him the right things, not only in words, but also in practice. One of the key things that Apostle has taught me was that we need to model a certain behavior if we want our children to be a type of man that we want them to be. If you want your son to be a healthy man, you want him to be a healthy father, you want him to be a nation builder, you want him to live and love God and love God's people and love his wife, love his children, and just be a healthy person, you need to model the lifestyle of a healthy father. If you want your son to be a righteous man, to live upright, you need to model that life. You yourself need to live righteously. You need to strive to live a holy life. You need to strive to model the type of life or the type of man that you want your son to be. You need to teach him lessons, the difference between right and wrong. You need to talk to him about relationships, intimacy, finances. You need to keep the door wide open for communication. You need to share your personal experiences and help him see the brighter picture. Number 3, you need to imbue the importance of family into your son. You need to imbue the importance of family into your son. If you want your son to grow up into a family man, then make sure you are showing him the right things. Make it a habit to put your family first, and your son will learn the same. Take good care of your wife. Be the pillar of your family. Your son will learn the importance of spending quality time with family and valuing the family unit by watching your attitude towards family. And this one is so important. Number 4, you need to teach your son true masculinity. I said in my opening statement that we've heard people talk about toxic masculinity. And so you need to teach your son what true masculinity is. The world will feed him a lot of wrong ideas about masculinity. Make sure you teach him right. Make sure you teach him it's not about being rough and tough, nor is it about earning a 6 or 7 digit salary or income. True masculinity is about knowing respect, respecting themselves, respecting the world around them, respecting people around them. It is about knowing their responsibility, worth, and value. Teach your son the right values, and you will be raising a successful man. So you need to teach your child what true masculinity is. Number 5, you need to celebrate his small accomplishments. We don't need to wait for the big things in life to celebrate. We need to celebrate every small accomplishment. And so before Lumanya came and said that he has been selected for the National Science Olympiads, he had to compete on school level first. And when he did well on school level, we celebrated that. And so now that he's going national, we're celebrating that. And should he go international, which he will go international, we will celebrate that. We will continue to celebrate everything, even the small things. Even when TJ or Mohau learned how to tie his shoelaces, we celebrate that. When Mohau finally learned how to ride his bike, we celebrate that. So you need to celebrate every small accomplishment. As fathers, most guys set the bar so high for their sons. They often overlook the small accomplishments, the progress that their son is making. The road to success is a very long one. I remember a few years back, in the year 2007, we were in church, and Apostle was speaking, and I remember Apostle said that ministry is like a journey. We are all on a bus. There are stops along the way. There are those that will get off. There are those that will get on, right? And so even our relationship with our children is a long relationship. I made an analogy this morning about the lion kingdom, that when the lion reaches a certain age, and that would be about the age where the lion starts to get on heat. And so the father would fight the son or the sons out of the pride. But he doesn't just fight them out of the pride. He fights them teaching a lesson how to defend for themselves, how to defend themselves, and how to fend for their family should they get to another pride, fight and defeat another male. Because unlike us, lions don't start a family from scratch. They fight their way into a family. And so with us human beings, we have the example of the patriarch Abraham, who at the age of 60, or when his son was at the age of 65, sent his servant to go and get his son a wife, because the son was just not adulting. So at the age of 65, he's living in his father's house, he's eating the father's food, taking care of the father's wealth, but the father needs him to get married. But it doesn't end there. When Abraham dies, Jacob and Esau have been on this earth for about 15 years. So for another 15 years, they were still living with the father and the grandfather. So I cannot kick my son out of the house at the age of 14, 15, 16, 18, or even 20, 21, simply because he doesn't understand himself. His body is experiencing various changes. He's starting to see hairs on his body that he doesn't understand. He's starting to feel all sorts of emotions that he hasn't learned how to understand. And so just because my boy is feeling these things and he's at the peak of his rebellion, and now I want to kick him out the house because he doesn't want to listen to me, that is the time where we need to be teaching them. That is the time where we need to be celebrating them. That is the time where we need to be showing them that you are growing into becoming a man. Number 6, this is something that is very close to my heart. You need to let him see you fail. You see, a lot of times as parents, we don't want our children to see our weaknesses. We don't want our children to see us go through difficulties. We don't want to see our children, or we don't want our children to see us in our weakest times. And a lot of the times when we are failing at something, we are failing in life, we are failing in our finances, we are failing somewhere, we don't want them to see that. We want them to see a strong side to us. We want to be mature, we want to be there, we want to be bold. But you need to let your son see you fail. Why do you need to let him see you fail? Because it will teach him how to handle situations. And it will teach him how to come out stronger out of these situations. You know, my friend Devato sent a voice note here. He sent a message. About a month ago, Devato had an issue with his car. His car was losing water. And I remember he was a little stressed about this thing because now, do I need to get a new radiator? But in that moment, Devato remembered that my late father never used to panic in a situation. And he taught me how to fix things. He taught me how to jump in and fix things. And so I remember he pulled out the radiator, opened it up, and he took out those aluminium pipes. I had no idea that there were aluminium pipes inside a radiator. He looked for the one that was cracked. And when he found the one that was cracked, he cut it at the crack, he closed it off there, and the radiator has never leaked water again since then. Nor did he have to buy a new radiator. But that's because in his father's weakest times, Dewato was able to see that I can come out stronger out of this situation. And I remember he said to me, my dad never used to panic when things like this happen. I'm not about to panic. I'm going to make it happen. Even little less am I going to spend money on this thing when I can fix it myself. Number 7, we need to discipline our children with love. Raising a son is not an easy task, especially if you are dealing with a teenager. Man, are those days difficult. Those days can be difficult. You see, when you're dealing with a teenager who is at the peak of their rebellion, it is so difficult dealing with that person. And so disciplining your son is very important, but doing it in the right way is more crucial. You need to give them an explanation and help them understand your reasoning rather than shouting or bashing them or beating them with no reasoning without helping them understand. And so Lumanya and I had a little fallout 2 days ago. And I said to him, I don't want to entertain you on this thing because I gave you an instruction. I asked you to do something. Come back to me with that which I asked you to do. And after you come back to me, then I will entertain you. And obviously he's at the height of, I don't want to say rebellion because I don't want to speak that over my son. It was only today, 2 days later, that he comes and he says, morning, Dad. And I ask him, what is it that you want? I want to clean the car. And so now he's trying to overcompensate and not come to the party with what he knows I'm waiting for. And so now I become fair to him again and I say to him, don't clean my car because you have not done what I asked you to do. Start by doing what you have to do. Well, he cleaned the car regardless. He didn't give me a choice in that matter. but it's okay. Thank you for cleaning the car. But the important thing is, he came and he said, I was unable to meet the person that you sent me to because he has traveled overseas. But as soon as he comes, I will fix that. And so it becomes important that we discipline our children with love. We need to give them a reason. We need to give them an explanation. We need to let them know that I am taking away your cell phone right now because you did 1, 2, 3. And after you have repented, if I can use that word, or after you have realized you're wrong, then you can come to me, sit down and have a conversation with me as a father. You see, those are all steps that you take in how to teach your child true masculinity, in how to teach your child how to be a nation builder. And I say again, if we get this relationship right, if we get this relationship right between a father and a son, we will have a better nation. We will have a nation that is not driven by toxic masculinity. We will have a nation that is not driven by gender-based violence and femicide. We will have a nation where a boy and a girl can live together in perfect harmony because the boy understands his worth. The boy understands his role. The boy understands who he is. And so in our generation, we have our independent women. We have our wives, our girlfriends, our fiancés that will say to you, I'm not leaving my job for anything. Why? Because I saw how my mother suffered. I saw how my grandmother suffered. I saw how this thing has been coming from generation to generation, and it continues to go on. So the best is I have my own house, I have my own car, I have my own money, I have my own things. No one is going to tell me anything. If you want to walk away, walk away. And that makes marriage a very volatile type of thing. It makes life in general very volatile. It reverses the order of God. It reverses the role of God. It reverses the initial intent of God. And so we as parents, we need to model a type of behavior that will ensure that our children that come after us do not suffer with the same things that we have suffered. I want to draw your attention to the book of Malachi, chapter number 4 and verse number 6. It's a very popular scripture that we all know. A lot of us can probably quote the scripture from the top of our hearts without even having to go to the text, without even having to read the text. I want to read, and it says, and he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the sons, and the hearts of the sons to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. There is a very important thing that Malachi is saying here. Malachi is saying to us that if we do not get this relationship right between father and son or father and children, that when Christ comes, this is in the Old Testament, that when Christ comes, his coming will bring a curse and not bring the grace that we live in now, and not bring the healing that we live in now. But his coming will bring a curse to the earth. And I want to prove that to you by showing you a repetition of that scripture or that of those words in the Gospel of Saint Luke, chapter number 1, verse number 16 and 17. And it says, and many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Lord their God. Verse 17 says, and many of the children of Israel shall he, many of the children, And he shall go before him in the spirit and in the power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. So the Gospel of Luke replaces the hearts of the sons to the fathers with the disobedient, turning to the wisdom to prepare for the coming of Christ. So Malachi says to us that if we don't get this relationship right between father and son, we don't get that right, the coming of Christ will be bringing a curse onto this earth. And the Gospel of Luke teaches us that they have become disobedient. And so the disobedient have to be turned to the wise to receive the wisdom for the preparation of the second coming of Christ. Even though some commentaries would suggest that he's coming to be glorified and to take those, or the rapture as they would call it, it does not take away the fact that we have to get this relationship right in order for us to experience the blessing that is Jesus Christ, or the blessing that is Christ Jesus. And so we need to get this relationship right. And again, I say, we get this relationship right, we get our societies right. We teach our children how to be grown and bold men that are not toxic. We get our societies right. And so the importance of this segment is for us to go into the nation through this platform of radio and be able to spread this message about this important relationship of a father and a son. And so you, our listeners, you, our family, you, the ones that are spending this time with us or allowing us to spend this time with you, we want you to become a part of this conversation. We want you to join us in studio with your son and come and have this conversation with us. And if you are getting it right, if you have a perfect relationship with your son, come teach us how you are getting it right. If there's a model that you have built based on sound doctrine, based on biblical principles, based on life principles, based on some philosophy, based on whatever it is, come and help us. Come and teach us how to build men that are not driven by toxicity. And so we are here on Good Life Radio talking about a relationship between a father and a son. It is just 20 minutes to 20 to 5. I ask you to give us a call. The studio line is 064 8962 911. I ask you to send us a voice note message. I ask you to send us a voice note on 063 210 7834. It just so happens that I had two messages, but my brother Charles deleted his message, and I hope he will resend the message. He just deleted it now. I have a message from my brother and sister Maxon and Giselle, all the way from Kimberley, Bloemfontein alike. And they're saying, greetings to you, Minister Rens. Congratulations are in order for your first broadcast on the airwaves of Good Life Radio. Thank you for a great show, Maxon and Giselle. Thank you to you too, Maxon and Giselle. I want to acknowledge my brother, I call him Pastor Lubisi, here on Facebook, saying, Ayebo, the show is proper. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for listening in. We want to invite you to give us a comment, ask a question, send a voice note. Let us know how your relationship with your son is. Let us know how you are getting it right. Let us know the challenges that you are facing. Let us know how we can fix this. We promise you, we will put a lot of effort into this segment. We will put a lot of time into this segment. We will put a lot of investment into this. We trust in God for great things on this segment. We trust in God that we will get this relationship right between father and son. May God bless you. May God bless you. May God bless you. May God bless you.